This is Stephen Downs. If you want to learn more about Connectivist MOOCs, he's got an ebook of 600 pages which you can download for free, which are his, I don't know where this is being sent, but his ramblings, oftentimes quite prescient about how education might look in a connected world. And this is his Grasshopper. So this thing allows you to take the RSS feed and you tailor it to what you're interested in. Now imagine you've got this running in an online course. You're very, very different than somebody who doesn't have it running in an online course. And the person running the experiment has no idea that the person in the control group has this. And then you're wondering why you got no differences on the average, because you didn't pay any attention to your control condition. Two apps. These are recent ones. The one on the left allows you to make videos like Camtasia with an app, and the cost is $0. And this one here is Algebra 1 type of Common Core, with all kinds of support on it. And again, when you're thinking about, I'm a researcher, I want to do research, I want to offer a MOOC, I want to offer something, maybe all of this is out there already and it could be used or isn't being used and maybe part of the design is to say to somebody, I wonder how this free app fits into what we're going to do in the San Diego School District's MOOC is going to fit into the work that's being done at the university and so forth. Do MOOCs work? And other poorly phrased questions. So who wants to know? Most of the universities have found the following surprising finding that 0 times any arbitrarily high number is still 0. This is the second important finding. The first one was, of course, when Einstein discovered that time was money. Remember that far side? This kind of finding up here seems to be news. But there are other values to it. So employers seem to think that if you went through a MOOC, you might have learned something valuable, so they're beginning to use it to identify candidates in universities. You've got 165,000 people in your sample, you might identify students from somewhere that you want to get into your program. So the original MOOC that was run by Sebastian Thrun at Stanford, as I understand the talk that he gave on it, I think he had 43 students better than the best Stanford students. And more deflating for him, a lot of his own students went on the MOOC and didn't come to listen to him, giving the same material. But so there could be a payoff, not in terms of collecting money, but maybe the university is identifying people. Or maybe LinkedIn wants to know about it because they want to sell the data to employers. There are other models that people are using, freemium models. You give away part of it free, you charge people for more of it. By the way, a saying, I couldn't track it down, the best I could find is in 2010, but on the internet, if the product is free, you are the product. So if you're getting something for free, you are being exploited. Data about you is what you're giving in return for the free product. So there is no free, there's nothing free. So the data, the interest of private companies in MOOCs, there's a growing report of more and more places asking people to sign into MOOCs using their Facebook accounts. Well, you can see the wonderful exploitation of the data. They now have not only the fact that you buy widgets on Amazon, but this is how you study or remember or learn, etc., etc. So all that data is now available to, I don't know who bought with. I'm sure nothing nefarious, capitalistic. The data may be of value. If you read, you should read the statements that Coursera and Udacity and other places have. And if you are on an online course and a hard question is asked and you answer it and the answer was really insightful, who owns the solution? Turns out, I believe you don't. You are the product. So who owns the IP over the IP? Because it's the intellectual product over the internet provider. It's an unexplored question, and people are happily taking stuff that is free and trading away their intellectual value. So I won't get into it, but there's a whole set of IRB questions going on at the moment. White House is very interested in it, Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, and there's meetings going on. Just type in privacy, White House, IRB, and you'll see National Research Council, a bunch of places. All of those are unanswered questions. For example, if you give a MOOC, if you teach in a MOOC, and you use copyrighted material, can you be sued? What's fair use? So fair use in a university course where you're making a couple of handouts might be different than 160,000 people getting access to stuff, and how much of it can you use under what conditions, and should you have given permission, etc. This is the folded game. So these are proteins and you fold it. I believe the guy on the top is Baker and this is Zoran Popovic underneath him. Popovic is the very gifted programmer who turned a problem that couldn't be solved. So these are complex proteins and it is practically impossible to write code that will figure out how to fold them in 3 dimensions. However, we have brains and vision that does this quite trivially. So they put it up as a game and people are asked to fold these things, oftentimes not knowing what it is that they're folding. But when they get folded in a certain way, it could lead to publication. So here's an AIDS puzzle. I think it was dormant for 10 years. So the scientists had given up on it, and I believe, you can check the article, but I believe it was solved in 10 weeks by crowdsourced amateurs. Nice IP questions there. If this leads to a great drug that brings in $3 billion over the lifetime of the patent, how much do I get? And you click on the terms and conditions, and there's an answer there from the University of Washington. So I'm going to do what I'm going to call your retinal scan, because I've got more slides than you need to see, but I just want to run this stuff by your retina, just to get a sense of this, the ways to think about this, how this comes up. Let's see. So this is a study that was done at this is the life cycle. Can you read it? Yes. Notice the N, 1 million. Now we're not doing statistics anymore, we're doing parameters. Right? Statistics is for people who've got samples. We don't have samples, we've got populations here. So this is 1 million users of Boops at Penn. And I'm just going to go through this very, very quickly. There are all the courses. But I just want you to just see the variation that you're dealing with and trying to decide the question what's effective or not. Variation in course orientation, course length, prerequisites, peer assessment, live chat, number of teaching assistants, workload, variation in videos, other course requirements, and what are we measuring, all those things. And here are some of the data. And I just want to, it's very interesting and complex, you can read the thing. Sadly, there's a huge amount of drop-off, as you can see, right? People attrit in it very, very quickly. If you don't have to pay for something, you tend not to put much value on it. Or you get what you want and leave, which is the problem for you if you got what you wanted. But if you're the provost, this is very upsetting. Those who persist by expected, the people who do homework, etc. So I just wanted you to see that. And this was a huge number of countries. But notice all the variability that we just scanned very quickly. All that variability goes into the question of deciding whether or not something is effective or ineffective in online education. So we're back to this slide here. So there's our million, which we just saw. This is a colleague of mine, Mika Seppälä at the University of Helsinki and Florida State University. And he is collecting data, and what I'm going to show you is Calculus 1 data, although not data as you're used to seeing it. So they have, these are the resources: videos, PDF files, lectures, solved problems, and the solved problems have levels of gentle, normal, and rigorous. Exercises and assessments, peer-reviewed workshops, discussion forums, social media, and learning analytics. So as you learn about it, you're feeding that back into the system, which is adding to the complexity of it, but what are you going to do? So these are the resources. All the little dots that you see are the resources. So some are PDF files, some are videos, some are workshops, some is peer tutoring. And what he's doing is he's tracking the tracks of individual students. So he looked at the top 4 students. And as you can see, they're using different resources in different ways. One student got the best grade by just doing the quizzes over and over and over, nothing but quizzes, morning, noon, and night. Mm-hmm. Somebody else had a mixed strategy. Somebody else decided to just pay attention to the workshops. And somebody else watched a lot of math videos. And they were equally good scoring at the end, but obviously they're using different strategies. Just to give you an idea of how overwhelming the data is. Right? Okay, so you get an idea of the complexity you're trying to decide. I mean, those are just the resources that they made available, not the resources that are made available by the students through all the other means that I showed you, including the groups that are tweeting and meeting and math and so on and so forth. Okay. You probably have seen Blackboard and all those learning management systems. So there's a group at MIT, the Alpha group, And one of the things they've got is MOOC database. And what they're doing is they are taking Coursera courses and Udacity courses and Blackboard courses, and they're trying to figure out how to get the data into a standard format so you can do analysis on it. So there's a bunch of very smart people at MIT that are doing this kind of work. And what's interesting about it from a design point of view is that they call it modeling the data exhaust. Right, so somebody else designed the learning management system and you're trying to make the best out of this, the data exhaust that's coming out. Right. But there they are, God bless them. So what does the future hold? So here's a lovely prediction of the future. This is from Scientific American. I'll give you a second to read it. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Any day now. So much for predictions. So what I want to do is not talk much about predictions, but this is a favorite aphorism. Suzuki was the Zen master who came to San Francisco, and he's got this nice pithy statement: in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, in the expert's mind there are few. So if you get nothing else, you should try and figure out how to get rid of your expert mind and get back to a beginner's mind. So go back to the terrain, the design terrain for your thinking. So, I have no idea what we're doing on time, but this is kind of a funny video. Anybody familiar with the attentional blindness and attentional blindness work? Good. All right, so let me show you this video quickly. So this is Darren Brown. Darren Brown is a street magician in the UK who has made a great career out of doing fantastic. If you see him on YouTube, it's really fantastic. And he also studies a lot of psychology, and he uses the principles to do fun videos like this one. So I'm going to start right here.
Where is it?
Exactly what street, no, but in that direction.
Christmas First Trinity Church.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is? From here.
But yeah, what? Come on, are you want to walk out?
I'm going to catch some other people. It's like
Okay, once you go on Broadway, yes. But the numbers are going. Once you go on Broadway, you're going down. Yes. Walk up straight down and just walk straight down. You're gonna see it. It's really brown. That's brilliant. Thanks for your help. All right, but
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity